What's going on, Player Profiler Nation? I'm at a Kiwoom. Welcome to the latest episode of the Futurecast. I am joined by my co-host, the OG, Theo Gremminger, and we brought back a familiar face. You know him, you love him, from over at Roster Watch, the guy that brought the Futurecast to the heights that you know it is today, Cody Carpentier. Boys, how are we doing tonight?
I'm so hyped to be here. We had such a good time with Cody last time. We had such positive feedback on that rookie draft. First of all, we drop a rookie draft, the three of us, and then everybody starts dropping rookie drafts. They had FOMO. They got jealous of what we did, and it was fire. And I said, Cody, let's run it back tonight. Let's skip the super flex. Let's go traditional league, and we're gonna have a little bit of fun tonight, guys. But you guys are crushing it. Let everybody know what you guys are doing with the hurdle. And, you're putting out content multiple times a week.
Getting it done. We're getting it done Tuesdays and Wednesdays. The hurdle over on the Executives of Fantasy Football YouTube channel, 7 p.m. Eastern time, both nights. And then we've been hitting these Sunday night watch-alongs. Every Sunday night we cover the first half and then a little bit into that third quarter of that Sunday night game before we go back and sit down and watch the rest of the games with our wives. We hang out with the crew in the chat for a good 2.5 hours. We've been doing that. That's all. And then all of our other content you can find patreon.com/executives. But yeah, we've been like everybody else in this entire damn space, just grinding out the season as the fantasy playoffs are here. So we appreciate everybody.
No, for sure. For sure. You guys are absolutely crushing it. And Cody, this is kind of like your time of the year. I know you and Matty are hitting like the NFL draft content big time. And, what you guys are doing together is awesome. And Matty, a big like hat tip, like the game plan, you've been crushing it all year. But we have a really cool, exciting announcement for a new venture that Matty is starting on his own right here at Player Profiler, a show that like we've been talking about doing for a while. And I'm really, really excited about it. Matty, why don't you let everybody know about Blue Chips and what you got planned going on with that? I think it's going to be a really big show for us, and I think a lot of people are going to benefit from following you and hearing your takes on a lot of things with Blue Chips related.
Blue Chips is a show. It's kind of, I don't want to call it a deeper dive into the prospect game because the Futurecast, we're going to do a lot of that here. But basically, Blue Chips is a bit of Devy. It's a bit of Dynasty, a whole lot of college football talk, talking about players, whether it be position groups, individual players, diving into mock drafts for the NFL. I'll also be talking about players that aren't necessarily fantasy relevant. It's really just exactly what the title Blue Chips stands for. We're talking about the blue chippers, the blue chip prospects. Cody last year, we were lucky enough to have him at Player Profiler, and he handled basically all of the college football, the scouting stuff, that expertise. And part of the reason why we got together and linked up for the executives was he brings this expertise, this knowledge of football that I just really wanted to learn more about. And then we've been crushing it all throughout. And Blue Chips is almost like a product of Cody taking me under his wings, teaching me how his process is, me learning my own process at that when it comes to prospect evaluation, football evaluation, really just taking that next step. And Blue Chips, I'm very excited to get it cracking. It's going to be starting here towards the end of the year, whether it be a little bit before Christmas, a little bit after. We're kind of hashing out those details. But be on the lookout, Blue Chips. Very, very excited to take kind of, just the things that I have been really kind of getting excited about, learning about all that good stuff and bringing it to the Player Profiler Nation.
Yeah, I love what you're talking about. We're Devy, college, Dynasty. I think you can wear many hats in your evaluation process, Matty. And I think the way that you see the game kind of all coming together, like the Stars of Saturday, talking about them before they play on Sunday, being able to like get deep into it. And I think when you're like a fantasy football guy like myself, and I love college football, but I'm really excited to kind of hear your thoughts on, some of these prospects and some of these bowl games. It just makes it a lot more exciting. I'm so excited about what you're cooking up over there. I think the show's going to be absolute fire. We're going to do a bunch of announcements about it. Look for those on Player Profiler Twitter, and then look for Matty, the Blue Chips shows dropping. Maybe you're going to give us a little Christmas present, Matty Kiwoom.
I got the belly, I got the beard. Maybe I could play the role of Santa Claus, drop a little present for everybody here. Blue Chip episode. I guess the present could be Cole Could be a present, could be something fun. It depends on if you're on the naughty or nice list. But yeah, very, very excited for that. I'm also excited, boys, to do a 1 QB mock draft. The Superflex mocks, I'm not going to say that they're easy, but I'm going to say this
They're
year
easier. They're easier.
a lot easier because we are deprived of running backs coming into this draft. And we all know rookie draft are built on the value of running backs. That's historically been the blue chip, the thing that we all want. So we are going to dive into that. I do have a couple of questions that I want to ask before we do the mock. But before we get into any of that, let's hear about Bettle.
Oh, I see it every day online, every single day. Hey, that looks like a great fantasy team in an 8-team league. Oh, wish I could be in a league with you, right? Well, guess what? Now you can respond with, sure, let's play on Bettle. That's the beauty of this platform. This new Bettle platform standardizes all position scoring. So you just load your team and you challenge your friend, your colleague, Twitter troll, and you can browse other teams and issue challenges. Bettle is revolutionizing fantasy football. And with code Underworld, you get a $100 instant deposit match plus a free $10. So even if you deposit $20, you get $50. Think about that. So go to Bettle.com. The code is Underworld. Bettle.com. The code is Underworld. Or click a link in the description. It's fun to be right.
I had one question for you guys. We're doing a non-Superflex rookie draft, a traditional rookie draft. And I think that one thing that gives a lot of fantasy managers problems is when you would select a highly drafted quarterback. Like, I think this year, a guy like Anthony Richardson had a huge variance when you talk about like FFPC dynasty leagues like I play in. For the non-Superflex leagues, you might see Anthony Richardson. He might have gone off the board at like 7 overall. And then there were some leagues where he would fall to like the 207. So some people really don't value that those elite QBs in a single quarterback format. Cody, I'm just curious, kind of the way that you look at it. If you get a mobile quarterback with incredible draft capital, maybe you like the landing spot. How do you value those kind of guys? Because we all want that quarterback edge with our fantasy teams, especially in Dynasty. But it seems like sometimes we don't value those guys enough in single QB.
I think they're very hard to trust. First off, I think when you find a guy like this year, especially with Jaden Daniels coming out, just won the Heisman Trophy, but you look at him and he's 6'4", 6'3.5", and he looks like he's about 208. Right, he looks very, very slender for his size. And that's a hard guy to trust, and kind of to conceptualize having that guy lead your fantasy team and trusting him after what we've seen from all of the running type of quarterbacks. Now, again, we love them because they give you hyper upside if they can continue this into the NFL, similar to what we saw with Lamar Jackson. But what also has Lamar Jackson given us? Very hot starts to the season, and he's been injured a multitude of times, which is very tough to deal with. And as well as you can go back to Cam Newton and RG3 and all these other rushing quarterbacks. I think in one QB, that's the ultimate of what you want. It's like Superflex to me in my head. I instantly go to the pocket passers, right? Who are you going to get value on? You can get value on the Kirk Cousinses of the world, the Matthew Staffords of the world over the last couple of seasons, Dak Prescott's, guys like this that aren't the most mobile, but they'll get you a first down every here and there. That's super flex. But in that one QB, like you mentioned, it's these dudes. It's these guys that are going to be running the football that you can get a complete edge on because you know that it exposes an upside where you can break through that floor of 18 to 22 points and burst into that 26-point area, 28-point area, and even 30 in any given week. So I do think I think this format, especially this one QB rookie draft, without giving away too much strategy, going into this thing, I think Daniels is a guy that can close the gap. Again, like if you look over the course of the last month, I'll even say like 2 weeks ago, I dropped my mock draft 2.0 at rosterwatch.com, and they always say as soon as you post your mock draft, it's already outdated, right? And it's pretty much what it was. I had him 43rd overall in that mock, and again, that's not my mock. That is, the way I mock draft in the offseason before the draft season starts kind of in February is I go based off everything that I'm reading, everything that I'm finding, everything that I'm seeing. And as soon as that comes through, again, I dropped that mock. I have him 43rd overall. Boom, skyrocket. And all of a sudden you start hearing him top 10, top 15. And I've been having that conversation with Matty for the last couple of months. And he's been saying, I really think he's going to be up there. Matty got ahead of that one with Jaden Daniels. But the point I'm making here is that you will continue to see that even in these drafts, right? In the NFL draft, he's catching up. But in these rookie drafts, he's going to be right on these dudes' tails, right on May and right on Williams' tails in 1 QB because of that rushing upside.
No, I love it. And then on the flip side, Matty, last time we drafted together, Cody took Drake May at the 101. So we get a guy like Drake May who doesn't have the rushing upside, but could be the kind of guy that is a 10-year starter for a team, big arm. How are you valuing those kind of guys in a single QB draft? Like, not a spoiler alert, no table talk, guys. But like, it's always like those kind of guys, they don't have the rushing upside. It always seems like a replaceable kind of, I don't want to call them replaceable talents, but it's sort of like that. Like, I can find a Sam Howell on a waiver wire and maybe he outproduces him. Matty, how would you value a guy like that? Because I think a lot of different managers will give different answers. And Cody, I'll say this, like, CJ Stroud fell to a point last year where a lot of people stole him in single QB leagues because, again, he didn't present that rushing upside. Matty, are you a little more open to drafting a Drake May in this sort of format, or are you kind of waiting on that?
So there's a lot of holiday parties coming up, right? And everyone knows that one person in the office that has rank breath. It's disgusting. And in 1 QB rookie drafts, these quarterbacks are exactly like that guy. I ain't going near him. Ain't drafting him. Because at this point, I want to gobble up all the other players, and then I can sort out quarterback later. It's so shallow of a format in terms of that singular position in 1 QB that I don't draft them. I just don't. Their value tanks almost immediately, even if they're taken in the first round, because you could have had a Brock Purdy late. Brock Purdy throws 4 touchdowns week 1. Let's call it Caleb Williams has a rough week 1 game. He's already potentially can be had in Dynasty in 1 QB. So I don't draft them. I stay away from them. But what I do love these rookie quarterbacks is in my redraft leagues. I always come away with rookie QBs if they're to get that round 1 draft capital. They have those offenses because you just wait till the end and you can get an Anthony Richardson. You could get a CJ Stroud. You can get these guys super, super late. So it's this weird dichotomy where in rookie drafts, I don't take quarterbacks in 1 QB. But in redraft, when I'm putting my whole team together, I always love taking rookie quarterbacks because you can kind of churn them and burn them. And a lot of times one guy hits. This year is CJ Stroud. And up until last week, he was carrying all of my redraft leagues.
A holiday party drink, curious, eggnog. It's polarizing. Which way are you on eggnog, Cody? Will you mess around with some eggnog in the holiday season, or are you anti eggnog?
I will not generally mess with it. It's a couple of candid selections of which I will. That's the Southern Comfort eggnog. You got to put a little Southern Comfort in there, get the mixtured. I'll dabble. The other one, we went to they closed the block down downtown. I think it was last weekend, a weekend before, I don't remember. And we went down there and we had some soup. We went outside and they had an ice cream truck set up. It was a custard truck, and they had eggnog custard, right? And I put some crushed Reese's Pieces on it. Sun gun. Tell you what, eggnog custard slaps diddly. I'll tell you that right now.
I'm going to give you guys an underrated, if you get a chance to drink it, a New York area drink, Coquito. This is a Puerto Rican drink. It's like a coconut milk and rum thing, kind of like an eggnog, like in theory, but everybody in New York knows a Coquito person. Like, you'll get like a text message around Christmas time. Hey, are you looking to buy a couple bottles of Coquito? And shout out to that one. Matty Kiwoom, do you have a go-to holiday beverage? No,
that sounds a little.
Listen, my man.
That slide by. We just act like that doesn't sound like a little something.
Have you ever? Hold on a second. Hold on. Time out. Cody, you've never had a pina colada in your lifetime? You gonna tell me a pina colada is not delicious?
Coquita? No,
dude. I'm just telling you what it sounds like. I'm not telling you.
Okay. Well, guys,
sounds
listen.
fantastic.
Shout out to my people from New York. You guys know what I'm talking about. Matty Kiwoom, do you have a holiday beverage you go with?
No, I don't have anything in particular. I do like eggnog without the booze if I need to have it. I actually was watching The Grinch. My kids love The Grinch. We were watching the live action version with Jim Carrey. They love that. And there's that scene where they're pumping him with eggnog. And they were like, look at his belly. His belly's getting all big. I was like, girls, you want to try some eggnog this year? It's really good. They were like, no. But we'll see. We'll see if we can get them on the train. They probably won't like it at all. But it'll be worth a shot. It'll be funny at the very least. But my drink of choice is whatever booze is around. Me and my wife are tequila people. If there's a tequila bottle around, we'll rip shots. It's it can get crazy.
Rum, what? Vodka, what?
What?
Beer, what?
All right, boys, let's keep this train moving on. Okay, let's not talk about too much booze and here in the holidays. But we got a rookie mock, 1 QB. Before we dive into that, though, I need to ask this question because if I don't, I will not sleep tonight, or I'll have to call you guys in the middle of the night to get your thoughts here. We talked about it pre-show before the camera was rolling. How much credence, value, how much meat are we giving these rumors starting to swirl, Cody, that Marvin Harrison might go back and Emeka Egbuka might go back to school? These kids are not declaring. Are the NIL deals going to make 4-year college players the most common practice?
It's definitely getting weird, ain't it? It's a weird thing. The Egbuka thing makes sense because he didn't have the season he wanted. Marvin Harrison wins the Biletnikoff. I'm not sure he maybe deserved it, but I'm not here to say he didn't. Best receiver hands down in football, but maybe he didn't have the best season at the receiver position. He talked about coming back because he wanted to beat Michigan. The thing that leaves me kind of open-ended is no quarterback. The thing is also maybe if he comes back, maybe Henderson comes back with him, and then they just run it completely back with Egbuka, him, and Henderson. But it still leaves the quarterback position up for grabs. And before the show, we talked about a couple of different situations at quarterback. Are they going to make a slam dunk hire? A couple guys just entered the portal. Malik Murphy, DJ Younglele's out there. Is Cam Ward hot enough for him? I don't know. That whole situation is goofy to me, but I do think the one thing people always go to is injuries. He goes there, he tears his ACL. Yes, like Theo alluded to, if he has an insurance policy, that thing happens. Everybody talks about that every single year. But I think the one thing people are missing with the Marvin Harrison thing is that he's got the name. He like Jamar Chase. Remember, Jamar Chase didn't play anything for he only played one game maybe or half. I don't remember. He played the whole year, whatever. But then he got drafted top 10, right? Marvin has the name equity in that. So even if he doesn't play or he tears ACL, whatever, he's still going to go top 10 because they still know what he is as a guarantee. So that's the one thing I do think falls into his direction is, if he does get a $15, $20 million NIL, he does go back. But this Ohio State thing's definitely goofy, just given the landscape of the people that have entered the transfer portal, quarterback, and kind of the lackluster seasons for Henderson and Egbuka. It just leaves the door open for a lot of minutia in Ohio State.
Matty Kiwoom, if Marvin Harrison goes back to school, I'm out. I'm taking
we're
6
done.
weeks.
We're screwed.
Well, that actually brings me to the question I was going to ask you, Theo. Before I ask it, I just have to say the one that just to kind of put a pin on what Cody's saying that makes this situation ultra interesting. Marvin Harrison is a kid who grew up with money. Money is not something he is starved after. But you know what he is starved after? Beating that ass of the U of M, beating Michigan. Mm-hmm. And that's this weird equation where, his dad's giving him he has the best, corner out of all these kids. His dad is a Hall of Fame wide receiver, played with some of the best quarterback, or was alongside one of the best quarterbacks of all time. So he's getting great advice. So that was just a different part of the coin that I'm thinking to myself, ooh, he could go into the league because he has nothing really left to prove, but there's still that big defeating Michigan monkey on his back. But Theo, the question I'm going to pose to you is, Caleb Williams is him and Haran. Marvin Harrison Jr. is him and Haran. They might go back. They might go in, whatever. If one of these guys goes back, Caleb in Superflex, Marvin Harrison in 1 QB, does everyone who stockpiled 2024 picks get what I call Porksville? Do they get the one-way ticket to Porksville?
I mean, yeah, it would definitely devalue some things. I mean, even to say the least, I mean, it would be catastrophic for Marvin Harrison. I mean, I'm on that like Malik Neighbors is special tip. So I think people would adjust and kind of have like, hey, I lost out on him, but maybe Malik Neighbors is going to be a multiple Pro Bowl wide receiver and still a big, mover of changing my dynasty outlook. But I just don't buy it. But I will say this, like the guys like Egbuka, like that's the kind of guy that we were banking on being able to take at the, the back half of the first round, like the 107 to the 110 in this sort of a draft. So like those kind of guys going back to school, that also devalues things, Matty, because it anytime guys go back, it pushes things up. Last time we drafted together, like Travion Henderson, like guys, are we drafting Travion Henderson tonight? Is he going to be off the board or is he on the table? That these sort of things just kind of go through my head.
It's true.
I would vote for Egbuka to be off the board tonight. I would say
Okay, so let's leave them both off the board.
Both?
Is Travion Henderson? I mean, Travion Henderson is probably more likely to go back to school than Egbuka. What do you think, Cody?
I just think because he's a running back, you can't. You like in this class is so drained. Like I just don't know. I get it. I 100% get it as him, but I think if I hate even thinking.
Let's leave them both on the board, and then we'll put a little asterisk. Anybody listening?
They're on the board.
We listen. Both those guys, we like them, but they're off the board for this process.
So the little bit behind the scenes here, I did not put Travion Henderson in our player pool because I thought it was a home run. I thought for sure he was staying. I thought it was like an official thing, but if it's not official, I'm going to add him because you got to be consistent across the board here, right? Like if I'm going to have Egbuka, we're going to draft Marvin Harrison Jr., Travion. If it's not official, like a referee with a whistle, I'll put him in. But enough talking. Are you boys ready to get the drafted?
Yeah, let's rock and roll. I'm at the 101 here, and I'm gonna shock no one. I'm gonna take Marvin Harrison. I think this is a generational talent at wide receiver. I think this is a guy who's not only going to be the 101 in rookie drafts, but I think if he lands correctly, this is the kind of guy that's going to go at like the 2-3 turn in redraft. I think the scheme is going to be incredible for Marvin Harrison, and he's also had the benefit of fantasy managers seeing that these rookies can come in and average 17, 18 points per game as rookies, and I think he's got that capabilities. I love his tape. I also love the athleticism. We talked about Bruce Feldman's freak list. He's right up there. I think that, we talk about wide receivers don't test in the bench anymore. He's going to be off the charts in the bench. The 40 time, everything. He checks all the boxes. This is like getting a Jamar Chase on your dynasty team.
Well, I mean, it's a no-brainer. He's going to be the 101 and probably even some super flex drafts. But everyone's tuning in real quick. If you look at the board, you're seeing some colors. Typically, when you see a draft board, you associate the colors with the positions. But in this case, the colors represent their status. So in white, they're undecided. We don't know anything either way. Green are the players who are underclassmen who have officially declared. And anyone in that peach color, that orange color that's been made famous by the Reese's Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. I mean, in a couple weeks of Senior Bowl. These are the kids that have already accepted their invite. So they are going to the Senior Bowl. But I'm up now with the 102. And here's where, in my opinion, these kids, the kids you're seeing on the board, all of them getting to the draft, make such a difference of who I'm taking at the 102. In this exercise, I am going to take the other, I think, complete, no doubt, superstar Brock Bowers at the 102, solidifying my tight end position, getting that unicorn. Bowers, we've talked so highly about this kid every time that we get together, right, Theo? Every time that we get together, we've talked prospects, Cody. This kid's it's a no-brainer. It's getting to the point you don't even talk about it anymore because you already know what he is. He's a stud. He's a kid that can, he has great yard after catch, which is what we like to see out of our tight ends. The Yak Monster of last year's class, which is a surprisingly incredible class, was Sam Laporta, and we're seeing that translate in the NFL. Brock Bowers is going to get that top 10, top 12 draft capital in the NFL draft, so I'm going to take him here at the 102. But the reason why the importance of who goes to the draft is here when it comes to the 102 for me. If Egbuka doesn't go to school, Marvin Harrison doesn't come out of school. All of a sudden, these receivers that I think I'm going to get in the second round with my second rounder picks evaporate. They're gone. They're first rounders. And that makes me want to take Malik Neighbors at the 102. But in this draft, for this sake, with this exercise, I'm going to go optimistic. I'm going to go Brock Bowers. So, Cody, you're up with the 103.
I like that. I don't love it though. So I think you're making a colossal mistake here passing on these receivers because you're going to get locked right out of them. If we're taking teams like this, right? If we're building teams and we get all these picks on our team, I think you're going to make a mistake taking Brock Bowers right there. But I'm going to go after the wide receiver position. You just brought him up, Malik Neighbors. I think it's close between him and another receiver that everybody knows about. And you can just see what Neighbors has done at LSU. He was looked at back in 2021 as a potential star, and he's lived up to the hype, outproducing the likes of Justin Jefferson over the course of his last 2 years at LSU. And I just think continuing into the NFL at a projected 195 pounds in that area, 6'1", he's literally a doppelganger of what Jefferson brings to the table. I think coupled in with a couple of the intangibles that Jamar Chase brings to the table. And again, you don't just become a Heisman without having weapons. And there's a lot of weapons at LSU, and this is the best one that we've seen. And again, you just can pull up the game log for a guy like Malik Neighbors. And if you just want to box score scout, you can just look at Malik Neighbors and go, pretty damn good. Alabama, 171 and a touchdown. Other big games, Florida State, he has a decent game. Texas A&M, 2 touchdowns. Like he just does this on a consistent basis, and I think it's going to continually work into the NFL when you look at where he can play on the field. He split his reps between slot and out wide. Like he can play everywhere. He can do everything, and I think Malik Neighbors is obviously not on Marvin Harrison's level as far as the stardom goes, but I think he's very closely behind him.
Malik Neighbors is he's nasty. The only follow-up question I'm going to ask you, Cody, had I gone Malik Neighbors with the 102, are you still sticking to the wide receiver position at the 103?
Correct.
Okay. So Brock Bowers would have fallen to Theo here at the 104 had I not taken up the 102, which makes it all that more interesting while you're up here, Theo, at the 104.
Yeah, so I think that this my pick kind of speaks to the power of this class and the strength of the wide receiver position. I'm going to go with Odunze. I think that this is like a no-brainer pick here. I like a number of the wide receivers behind him as well, but I think when you look at the history he has, his track background, his mega production, and the fact that Washington would not be in the college football playoffs without him. He shredded Oregon, so I got a little bit of recency bias on this, but I think he's going to be drafted very highly. I'm very interested to see where both of you guys have him projected in the NFL draft. But when I watch him play, I'm like, this is a no-brainer. And I think people would be more excited about him if there was no Marvin Harrison and no Malik Neighbors. Like I think in certain NFL drafts, he'd be drafted, closer to like the wide receiver 1 overall territory, than he is here, where he's the 103 at the wide receiver spot. So I'm like in leagues where I have a chance to get him at the 104, I'd be really, really excited about him. I think he's a difference maker for Dynasty.
Absolutely. Can't really argue anything there. I am up here with the 105. And for me, this is a decision that's made between who I personally rank higher or who I think is going to get better draft capital. And I am going to decide with my process. And I am going to go with Emeka Egbuka at the 105. When I watch him play, I can't help but see shades of DJ Moore, the way he could be used on an NFL roster. And I do think that if he does come out, it will benefit him in fantasy because I don't think we're going to see him flirt with that top 15 as we had probably thought a few months ago. I think he goes towards the back end of the first round, which means he goes to a better offense. The Chiefs will be in play when their pick comes up. There will be some high-powered offenses that he could be added to. And what I really just like about his game is how versatile it is and how he can perform with other superstars. He had 1,100 receiving yards with, I know Jackson Smith was hurt last year, but Marvin Harrison was there last year. Jackson Smith was on Ohio State last year, and he was still able to shine. So I love his skill set. I think it's going to translate perfectly to the NFL level. I just hope he just does not go back to OSU. So I'm going Egbuka here, stick with my process. Cody, you're up with the 106.
I got a question for both of you guys here then really quickly, because in my mock draft 2.0, I put these receivers. You guys we've selected 4 of the 5 receivers that I had going off the first 5 guys. One of them still on the board available. But a couple of these landing spots here. I had Odunze to the Bears. I had Malik Neighbors to the Rams at 14 to join Puka Nacua for the next 10 years. And then I had Emeka Egbuka, Houston Texans, with CJ Stroud picked 24 overall. Does Egbuka to Houston with CJ Stroud get him any closer or into the Odunze, into the Neighbors conversation for you if he declares for this draft, attaching him to Stroud?
No, for me, of the things you just said, if you tell me that it's a Sean McVay getting Malik Neighbors, that's it, Cody. I'm trading for all the 102s because we've seen wide receivers with lesser talent than him excel, and I think that when excel under McVay. So I think if you give McVay an elite talent like Neighbors, I think you're talking about potential to be, top 5 wide receiver for multiple seasons in his career. I would love that landing spot, and that's a verse of the quarterback, of the future there, which we don't know. I'll bet on a McVay and Neighbors together. I would love that.
What about Odunze though? Like, what if you put Odunze in the Bears? That's the question: is does Emeka get up to that? Does Emeka get there? Because it's just like it's the Bears on paper, and obviously, with that being said, they're going to be trading out of the 101 pick, so they would still be sticking with Fields. Does that scare you off Odunze at all and lean you more towards Emeka with that connection?
Yeah, I think it would be closer. I think it would be. I think you'd have to look at the landing spot there a little bit because I think that DJ Moore has shown such a connection with Justin Fields this year that I don't think that would disappear. So you'd be talking about, and maybe we get hope for like consolidation of targets, but we just won't have the sheer volume there to support 2 big time wide receivers. I would still want to get my hands on like a lot of Odunze, but it would not be. I wouldn't be quite as excited as if he landed in a place where he had a more of a path to a clear number 1 role.
I like that.
People who roster Tank Dell in Dynasty, that would be your nightmare because you would get a guy who has a relationship with CJ Stroud. So the relationship that he's built with Tank over this season goes out the window. And I think that what you're looking at between the two, obviously Tank Dell's shiftier given his size, but Egbuka is every bit of a route runner, I think, as Tank Dell has shown coming out. And I think Egbuka could be a number one, a clear-cut number 1 on that offense if they decide to move on from Nico Collins a year from now. So that would all kind of hinge together. But, yeah, getting C.J. Stroud with his former college teammate would be freaking huge for him.
All right, with the 106, multiple times we've talked about on this show or in other shows, Braylon Allen and what he brings to the table is a combination of A.J. Dillon. He's in Jonathan Taylor's old spot with Derrick Henry. He's a mixture of all these cats. He's yet to turn 20 years old. He turns 20 January 20th, so we'll be well into the pre-draft process, turn 20 years old. This, for me, is the only running back that we're projecting to come out in this draft. Again, Trayvon Henderson's another guy that we're projecting to come out, but I don't know. Braylon Allen's the only one I'm spending a first-round pick on this year at this current state. Right now, today, Braylon Allen's the only one I want to spend a first-round pick on in rookie drafts because, again, he's 19.9, going to turn 20 here in a month, and he's shown you consistently over the course of the last 3 years what he can do at Wisconsin. He carries his 240 pounds very good. He's going to run south of a 4.65, and at 240 pounds, south of a 4.65 is plenty. It doesn't have to be a 4.44, but I'll take it. If he wants to give me a 4.52, we'll take it. But he showed us consistently what he can be, and he closed out his career against Minnesota, who has been a good rush defense. 26 carries, 165, 2 tugs. He's went north of 1,100 total yards each of the last 3 years at Wisconsin. His first 2 years, including his freshman season, over 1,300. He's young, lots of tread on the tires, and I think that what he brings to you in Dynasty is at least a 6-year, 7-year opportunity or window where you're going to consistently see Braylon Allen get opportunities similar to Derrick Henry. We're still betting on Derrick Henry here late in his career as a Dynasty asset to win you championships. Braylon Allen has every capability to do that same thing.
I want to just talk about this real quick because people have tuned into both of our mocks, what you'll notice and what might confuse you is in our first, which was a super flex mock, we didn't have a running back come off the board till I think it was the 112, 111. It was the very end of the first round. And you might be saying, why would a running back go at the 106 in 1 QB, but at the end of the first with quarterbacks? The answer is, given this running back landscape, the draft council gave Braylon Allen advice that he believed was worth declaring immediately. So I think that without Trayvon Henderson in this class, it is a one running back difference maker in this class, and I think that does elevate his value to the spot, because I was debating between Braylon Allen, Egbuka, and another receiver that I won't talk about because he's still on the board. But yeah, I think that's kind of going to be
Cowboys.
This Cowboys in round 2 makes all the sense in the world. It's going to be mocked there. I think a lot of people are going to mock it because it's going to be that would be that would be sexy if that does happen, Theo. If that does happen, Braylon Allen, second round, only running back taken in the first 3 rounds, we'll call it. Where does he go in your mock?
He would go if he landed in the Dallas Cowboys.
If he
I
goes
mean, I
Cowboys
would take
in the
him.
second round.
I would take him probably at the 104, like maybe the 105. I think that it would be even higher. And I'll say this: I think it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens. This is a perfect fit for them. They tried to get Derrick Henry during the season. That trade fell apart. This is a back that if he ends up in Baltimore, this is like a perfect complement to Mitchell. Makes him like, that would be an incredible running back by committee. He would fall right into a Gus Edwards on all kinds of steroids, like not even just the real stuff, like the Barry Bonds stuff.
The 01 Bond stuff,
Yeah.
I love it.
The cream and the clear.
107, you're up, man.
So this is a difficult one for me, and I think that this is a player that I think certain analysts seem to be souring on a little bit, which I don't really quite know why, but I'm going to stick with my guy, Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman is 6'4", 215. There's a couple other of receivers in this class that I really, really like, and one that's got similar height but a lot lighter. To me, Coleman, some NFL team is going to fall in love with this profile. He's only 20 years old. He's an alpha. He's an outside wide receiver, and we saw him show up in big games. I think it's unfortunate how Florida State's season ended, and I think that, a little bit of foam, a little bit of what have you done for me lately with Coleman? But we saw it at the beginning of the season, and I think that he's going to end up with the draft capital, and I like his potential a lot. I'm sticking with him. Curious what you guys are seeing with him, because there's a couple wide receivers behind him. Would this be a guy that you would have considered here at the 107, fellas?
You'd have to consider him. I do like receivers on the board more than him. It's the in today's NFL, it's the profile that makes me so nervous. He doesn't pop in yards per out run. It's really just like a mass grouping at the top of a number of metrics with all of the big dog receivers that we're talking about. And he's kind of the guy that's not in that group. But he's big, he's mean, and he's probably going to get round 1 draft capital. And one landing spot that I think Cody and I talked about on one of our episodes of The Hurdle recently was the sexiest landing spot is he is the T. Higgins replacement, and the Bengals take him with the 15th, 16th overall pick. And at that point, his stock goes right back up.
Bingo. That's exactly where I mocked him. That's exactly my thoughts. We talked about this a couple weeks ago on The Hurdle over there on YouTube. And I think that basically, to answer your question, Theo, and that is people are souring on him. Why? It's just a weird thing that obviously it happens every single year in the draft process. Is we've seen what Keon Coleman is, which is the most important thing, right? There's a reason he was one of the top transfers last year going into Florida State from Michigan State. There's a reason we saw what happened on the field this year with Jordan Travis and this offense going undefeated at Florida State. The draft is a flat circle. When we come back to this thing here in April, May, it's going to be right back around to Keon Coleman. They just get bored. They say, oh, neighbors, Harrison, Odunze, oh, they're going up for all these awards. Oh, okay, cool. Where's Coleman? Everyone forgets about Coleman. Guess what? It's going to come right back around. He's going to be there. 107, to answer your question, that's exactly where I had him circled. He was my next player off the board.
I love it. I sniped Cody already.
So now it brings me up here with the 108. And what I'm going to do here, I could go with someone who popped this year, but doesn't really have the history, or I can go with the guy who has the talent profile that's having a massive year. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the guy who has something that you can't teach, and that's speed. I'm going to take Xavier Worthy here with the 108. He's already getting pretty much the back end around 1, round 2 NFL draft capital, kind of projection, I should say. But when the combine comes and he's a burner and he looks real crisp out there, and if he can make some big plays, we saw him make a big play, the Big 12 championship. If he can make some plays in the playoffs, I think that only elevates his stock. A landing spot that I would love to see him go. We're talking about the Cowboys getting Braylon Allen round 2. What about replacing Brandon Cooks with Xavier Worthy, boys? Oh, man, that's something I would love to see. Keep the kid in Texas, baby. So I'm going Worthy here with the 108. Cody, you're up with the 109.
I'm going to stay right there at Texas, and I'm going to go Adonai Mitchell. Adonai Mitchell was another one of those transfers last year with Keon Coleman. He was one of the most heralded guys, and he went to Texas, and he continued that dominance. He was a guy, when you talk to George Pickens, when he was leaving Georgia, and he was like the next dude up. The next dude up is Adonai Mitchell. Adonai's caught a touchdown in 4 consecutive college football playoff games, has won the last 2 championships, transfers to Texas. Guess what? He's in the college football playoff where he will be playing in a few short weeks. Adonai Mitchell is just a bona fide winner. And in a class the year after, right? Last year we talked about, Josh Downs, Tank Dell, I can't even think of all the players off my name, but all the dudes that are 165 pounds, 175 pounds in this area, right? This year's class is kind of the opposite. There's a lot of bigger dudes. Odunze, 6'3", 200. Marvin Harrison, 6'4", 210, 205. Keon Coleman, 6'4". Adonai Mitchell, 6'4", 195. Like, there's a lot of big cats in this one. And I think this is another guy that you can kind of comp, I think, a little bit closer to T. Higgins. Again, I love Keon Coleman replacing T. Higgins there in Cincinnati, but I think Adonai Mitchell comps more comparable to T. Higgins' play style with his lower body contortion ability, his hand-eye coordination, his ability to just score touchdowns and be open and be available. And he does have the big boom capabilities. We saw it against Kansas State earlier this year in a game that they had to win that came down to the wire, went to overtime. Guy almost went for 150 yards. He can make that big play. And I think the most impressive thing, coupled with the player you just talked about, Xavier Worthy, who's closing in on 1,000 yards this season, is that these cats did it together. And they're both alphas. Not alphas. They're both dogs. Sorry, they're definitely not both alphas. They're both dogs, and I think that they both can work together in offenses with other receivers. So you put an Xavier Worthy, like you said, in Dallas. I think he works well with the CeeDee Lamb. You put an Adonai Mitchell, wherever you want to put him. You want to put him in Cincinnati. You want to put him in wherever. You put him out. I'd put him in New York. Tell you that. Put him with the Giants. Put him like opposite of Jalen Hyatt. It's another speed burner on the opposite side. And Jalen Hyatt, you put Mitchell out there where he can be kind of like that alpha type of a guy. I really love Adonai Mitchell going into the NFL. And I think just a couple things that he kind of shows you as a collegiate athlete is switching teams, right? He went from Georgia to Texas, staying competitive, staying dominant, things that it takes to get to the NFL and face new challenges, play with a new quarterback, hand-eye coordinations, finding the end zone, toe tap, like all these small things that just check small boxes that matter when it talks about rookie and sophomore success in the NFL.
We just need him to miss the Carolina Panthers at the top of the second round. To just
please
keep all these receivers away from that.
Please.
I love your pick of Mitchell. Mitchell would have been my pick, Cody. And I think Mitchell's the kind of guy, like, every year in Dynasty, you'll see teams that are very close to the championship ending up with like the ability to get a top-notch talent at the end of the first round. Mitchell's that kind of guy. Like, you could pop the tape in from the Alabama game where like he really, really stood out. I think he's a beast. I think that he's the kind of guy that I'm going to end up with a lot of. And he was definitely the one I was excited to take at the 110. But Cody, you run pure, so I'm going to stick at the wide receiver position. I'm going to take Troy Franklin from Oregon. I think that some people will not like the weight. He's 6'3". I think he's legit 6'3". I think he's probably 185 pounds though, which is the difference between him and Coleman. I think Coleman's got easy 20 plus 25 pounds on him. But Troy Franklin was like a big, yards per route run guy this year. Really, really efficient receiver for Oregon. And I think that, like, Cody, you've talked about it for a while now. Like last year when we discussed like Jordan Addison, like nobody cares. Nobody cares about the weight anymore. There's so many guys in the NFL right now that are coming into the league and excelling with a very light frame. And I think Troy Franklin, I wouldn't really worry about the landing spot with him. I think he's one of those guys that can fit into a number of systems, and I think he's just going to be a very productive fantasy player. I feel like I'm still getting a little ceiling here, but it's really I have like a very good floor with Franklin. I think he's going to be very productive in the league.
That was going to be my pick, Mr. Gremminger. So you have now successfully sniped both of us, and we haven't even gotten out of the first round. So now I have to pivot. This player that I'm going to talk about so far, as I've started to dive into some of these fantasy prospects, this guy has had some of the most helium out of anybody on the offense side of the football. So I'm going to go ahead and take the tight end that I believe will be the second tight end with round 1 draft capital, Jatavian Sanders. Jatavian Sanders we talked about the show blue chips. This kid is a blue chipper. This kid was the number 1 tight end in his high school class. He's having a good season at Texas. He's 4th in the nation in yak. He's got a 1.89 yards per route run. He's popping everywhere. He doesn't drop the ball. He's reliable. And he's just a freak athlete. He's got the size similar to a lot of the guys that were taken this year that have proven can be successful in the NFL. A landing spot that I cannot avoid is the end of the first with the Miami Dolphins just adding more dynamic athleticism and speed to that offense. Even though they haven't historically used tight ends, if they got a guy like Sanders, that would potentially change. I love Jatavian Sanders, getting him here. It looks like I got both of my favorite tight ends so far in this round 1.
Matty with the bully tight end approach. Is
this tight end premium? Is this tight end premium?
It is now because I got 2 of them. It is now, boys.
It's 2-point tight end premium. Matty just switched it on us.
It's 4-point tight end premium, boys.
Complete fugazi. Whatever. You can take the L. It's okay. Theo, you and me are.
I think it's a little early right there. I was thinking like 204 for him when I'm considering him. I think he's a little bit more like landing spot. Like Brock Bowers, I really don't care where he lands. I'll take that back. We don't want to see like a Todd Monken reunion. But like Jatavian Sanders, he's a beast. But I do think that there's a couple of guys here I would have taken over him. Cody, where are you at? Where would you start considering him?
Well, I first want to say, Theo, you've done a great job tonight. Matty, I don't know what he's doing, drafting tight ends and guys that are going to go back to school and guys that weigh 160 pounds. I don't know what he's doing tonight, but there's a reason that you and me are competing for this belt tonight. And I just want to say I appreciate you with the kind words and all the stuff across the board. So
Cody,
my pick here is going to be another guy. Again, I have 3 guys left.
This guy makes up rules for these mock drafts. This guy goes elbow deep in his own ass to pull out rules for this draft. Who said we're building teams with all these picks? I'm acting as if I am a bunch of different managers.
As soon as you drafted Bowers, I said it. I think you made a colossal mistake if we're drafting all these as one
because
team.
You make these fugazi rules.
I said it at 102. I didn't say it now. I said it at 102. So you've known how this is drafted. We drafted 100 drafts together. You know exactly how it rolls.
No, it doesn't. That's not
how your boy has the belt.
This is an exercise. This is an exercise for people to see.
I don't exercise.
Who's available here?
I don't exercise. I work out. 112 here to end round 1. Again, like I said, I have 4 guys still on my sheet right here that I would take in the first round. You guys have skipped over and taken dudes that don't matter. Yeah, they shouldn't be talked about till the 16-17s if you want to get down to the nitty-gritty here. So I'm going to go with potentially the freakiest guy in this class, Xavier Legette from South Carolina. We saw him break Alshon Jeffrey's rookie first 4-game record this year at South Carolina with Spencer Rattler in this offense, where it was supposed to be Juice Wells taking that step up. It was actually Xavier Legette, the 5th-year senior. He's going to be at the what the hell is it going to be? The Senior Bowl. I think he's going to be at the Senior Bowl this year, which I'm super excited to see because he has the potential to be the best receiver there in a loaded class with Devontae Walker, Jacob Cowing, Brendan Rice, a bunch of big dudes, Johnny Wilson. So I think Legette's going to be a guy that's going to rise through the process, get a lot of helium, and he has a potential just with his pure athleticism, acceleration, 10-yard split, hand-eye coordination, and size, freaky size, to jump into the top 35 of the NFL draft, which puts him on the brink of round 1 in this 1 QB exercise. Xavier Legette, the super stud with alpha tendencies. I think I'm going to take him right here at the 112.
So for me right here at the 201, I think this is kind of a wide open pick. I can't take a wide receiver every single pick here though, guys. And I'm going to go with a running back that I think I'm starting to come around on a little bit in this class, and that's Blake Corum. I think he's been a mega producer. I think he's going to test well in the 40. And I think that he's going to end up with draft capital. And there's certain running backs that are like on this board that I like, that I don't know if they're going to go on day 2. But I think Blake Corum's going to find a way to be drafted on day 2. And he's been a machine this year for Michigan. And I think that depending on the landing spot, I think Blake Corum could be very effective as a rookie as well.
Makes sense here. This is Blake Corum. He seems like the guy that's going to get all the NFL scouts in love. He scores a ton of touchdowns. He plays on national, the national televised games. He's going to be in the playoffs. He seems like a real gritty guy. Very comparable in his size to Evan Hull, but I think he's going to be more athletic, which is good. And he's going to potentially be the second running back off the board now with if Henderson goes back. So I'm here with the 102, and I am going to take Travion Henderson because if he does come out, I do think he is my running back too. He shows the ability to catch the ball, run between tackles. He can kind of do it all. Why I was a little hesitant to take him here at the 202 is this injury history. You hate injury history attached to a running back because we all know how volatile the injuries can be at that position. But the talent is too tantalizing here. So the 202 to come away with Brock Bowers and Travion Henderson would have seemed like a pipe dream just a few months ago. So to be able to do it now feels pretty good.
Totally redeemed yourself. Great value. Awesome selection here. You did the thing. Took the criticism, bounced back. I love the selection here. But I'm going to be that
Cody.
I'm gonna be that guy. And I know to start the Superflex draft we just did a few weeks ago, I took I took Drake May 101. But for all the things we talked about before the show, with the one QB style. And I don't think Drake May is going to be as big of a rusher in the NFL just due to his lanky lower size, lower half. I think that Caleb Williams will continue to run the football in the NFL. And I'm going to take Caleb Williams here at the 203, the guy that's projected to be the 101 in the NFL draft. Caleb Williams comes with the board, one quarterback, 203. Not sure you get this value in your rookie drafts come April, come May, but I'm going to take it right here in this one QB exercise.
No, I like that. I like that pick, and I definitely considered him. For this pick, I'm gonna go with Brian Thomas. I'm gonna go back to the wide receiver position.
Like it.
I'm gonna draft another wide receiver with size. I think this is a guy that is gonna rise up a little bit when we get into the process of evaluating players. I think that a lot of times when you have a teammate as good as Malik Neighbors, I think people get super excited about that. But we're gonna go back with the LSU pedigree. Legitimate 6'4". I think he's going to be well over 200 pounds. And I like getting him here in this part of the second round.
No, this is good value on Brian Thomas. Cody, what's your thoughts on Thomas? Because Cody, I kind of have a little bit of hesitancy. I'm a little nervous about putting any faith in Thomas. So what are your thoughts on Brian Thomas?
It's sure. I mean, I haven't done my research on Brian Thomas yet as far as my evaluations and stuff, but from what I've seen this season, I haven't been the most intrigued, I should say. Like he definitely comes off as a guy of a product of the situation that he's in at LSU, playing with studs at wide receiver in Lacey and the Neighbors. And I think that Thomas is going to be fine in the NFL, but it just screams and it goes like flashing red lights of DJ Chark and Terrace Marshall and Jonathan Mingo, and just like guys that not Jonathan Mingo. Why did I just say Jonathan Mingo? Who's the other big guy that went to LSU that I'm blanking my mind on right now? There's three cats. Russell Gage, Terrace Marshall, DJ Chark, and who was the third one that a couple years ago? Anyway, you get the point. That's the red lights that flash off my mind and saying worry, because the 6'5", 200-pound frame, the frame's a little light for me. I don't know if he comes in at 200. I'm just a little worried right now with him. I'm not going to get too much into Brian Thomas because I haven't done my full evaluation on him. But I just have worries with the frame and the output currently in college.
All right, so I'm up here.
My only pick that you guys didn't like so far, and Cody secretly didn't like my Blake Corum pick either.
So I'm up here with the 205. The receiver position's been pretty picked from the elite talents. There's one guy that I still kind of like, but I'm going to go with Trey Benson. Trey Benson, though, relies heavily on the draft process for me. Coming into the year, he was a clear top 4 running back for me. I think it was 3 or 4. It depends on where I had Rocket Sanders. But Trey Benson, you can look at it two ways. You could look at it like he's going to have extra tread on the tires because he wasn't ran into the ground at FSU. Or you could look at it like he was just not as good as we thought. He put on a little bit of weight. Maybe it didn't translate. I'm going to choose to bet on the talent We like how big, how fast, how brooding he is as a runner. He was really, really great in 22. Decent this year in 2023 on a really good team. But I think that the saving of the tread helps him out here when he gets to the NFL. So I'm going to go Trey Benson with the 205.
And I'm going to sprint up. I'm going to sprint up right now. I'm going to throw my card on the table, and I'm going to give Jaden Daniels the 206 right here. I'm going to take the rushing upside. I'm going to couple it with my Caleb Williams selection just a second ago. I'm going to take both these quarterbacks off the board right ahead of Drake May, something I characteristically wouldn't do in Superflex, but it's one QB here, and I think that what he brings to the table, you saw it all season long, the game against Florida with the dual threat abilities. I just hope he can put on a little bit of weight. A little bit of weight would be nice because if he can, it's going to bring a different level to what we've seen from Lamar Jackson and potentially a tier higher because of the passing ability. It's going to unlock a top 8 ability in fantasy football QB in one QB as a rookie. If he can stay healthy for the season long and we don't get nuked with the landing spot. Jaden Daniels 206.
Gosh, that one hurt a lot, guys. I'm getting sniped right and left. The Benson pick, the Daniels pick. This is really tough for me. I'm gonna go like a little curveball pick here. You talked about upside. I'm gonna take the ACL discount and take your guy Jonathan Brooks here, Cody. I think like if I'm in the middle of the second round here, I'm gonna be willing to take that injury risk. And I think that if he did not tear his ACL, I think he would have gone easily in the first round of the draft we're doing. So I'm gonna go Jonathan Brooks, and I'm gonna hope he's a fast healer. Guys have been healing a lot quicker than they used to, and he looks incredibly explosive in the film that we have this year.
Yeah, Jonathan Brooks. Cody, you talked about it when we did our Superflex mock. He was kind of your sleeper pick at the end. We kind of played a little bit of a game at the end, taking sleepers at the end of the draft, and you took Jonathan Brooks hoping he'd come back healthy. And Theo, I think you hit the nail right there, square on the head. If he didn't bust his knee, if he was playing in these playoff games, we could see a lot from him throughout the process, and I think he could be potentially even the first running back off the board. So I love that pick. With the 208, what I'm going to decide to do is, man, what do I do here, boys? What do I do? I'm going to go with Ladd McConkey.
Ooh.
I'm going to go with Ladd McConkey here. He's already getting that early second to mid-second NFL draft projection. Fantastic yards per route run. We saw the clips of the just leaving guys, just stealing souls, snatching ankles with his route running ability. But he's got a little bit of size too. Again, this class is insanely big in terms of the receivers. Even Emeka Egbuka, who feels like the smallest of the bunch, is still 6'1". So I'm going to take Ladd McConkey here with the 208.
Now this is, I think, a tough spot. Now I think
it's flat right now, isn't it, Cody?
Now's kind of where it falls. I could triple tap quarterback here and completely box you guys out from adding a quarterback to your teams. But I'm not
taking a quarterback.
I'm not going to do that. You're not even going to take Drake at all? Damn. I mean,
I'm just going to run the Wildcat. I'm going to run the Wildcat all day.
With who at quarterback? With who at quarterback? Trey Benson?
It's going to be a revolving door of Wildcat offenses.
Gotcha. Sounds terrible. Sounds like a losing strategy. But hey,
winning strategy, taking 2 quarterbacks in a 1 QB league.
Sounds
bingo,
like
bango, you're nailing it.
Imagine taking Stroud and Young instead of just Young, right? You'd be looking pretty good right now. So,
you would have you'd be batting 50. You have 50% shooting percentage.
Hey! I'm not the 2005 Miami Dolphins running Ronnie Brown at the backfield, so that's all right. But it is what it is here. Let's go 209. So I got 2 picks left here. Star-studded cast already. Not going to go tight end. Not going to go quarterback. I think there's a couple running backs you can think about right here, but I don't love any of them. So I'm going to go ahead and lean into a receiver that I've liked for a few years, but I wished he would have came out 2 years ago. I think he's going to come out now. Again, he's going to the Senior Bowl as well, and he's going to profile more as if he should have came out last year, because he should have came out last year, and that's Mr. Jacob Cowing. I think he's going to be the skater this year at the Senior Bowl. He's going to be running routes all around people, running routes around people. And I think that, again, like I said, this class is all massive humans, 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 200 pounds. Last year's class, all $165. Cowing is going to be the one dude in this class that I think elevates himself because of – yeah, but look back at Addison, look back at Dell, look back at Downs. I think he profiles like a Josh Downs, and I love Jacob Cowing in this class.
Good pick. Yeah, I think he has a chance to really make some hay in Mobile. So you're up here, Theo, with your last pick of the night.
Yeah, so you know what? I was going to go with another player, but I think that Drake May here, I think I'm going to take Drake May here at the 210. I think it makes sense. It's the right way to go. I wanted to go back to the running back but it's slightly, I might end up drafting a guy here where the draft capital is not exactly where I want. I think with Drake May, you're going to get one of the top picks in the draft. He's got an absolute cannon. Depending on the landing spot, Matty Kiwoom, you talked about it earlier in the show. Certainly, like these sort of guys like him, he could step right in and be fantasy friendly right away. You might get your long-term answer at quarterback. And I would bet that dynasty managers that end up with Drake May in this sort of range, he'll gain value very quickly. Like you could flip this, immediately 6 games into the season, somebody might be willing to trade you like a second and a third, even if you're set at the quarterback position, because I think he's going to look like a long-term answer in the NFL.
Theo, do you think when we get there in April and May, do you think that Drake May falling to here is a realistic thing, knowing he's going to go top 5 in the NFL draft?
I think that when it settles, I think for single quarterback drafters are going to be more enthusiastic about not only Drake May, but I think Caleb Williams, and I also think that Jaden Daniels are both going to get pushed up. I think that people are going to get really excited about the trio of quarterbacks, despite it being a one quarterback setting. So I think, Drake May, I think more realistically, Cody, he's probably going to be like the 205 if he gets the NFL draft capital, and I'm getting him at the end of the second round.
Yep.
So my last pick of the night, I am punting in Cody's cockamamie game that he's conjured up in his head that we're supposedly playing, building these teams. I'm going to punt here because I want to talk about a particular player. So I think that this guy, after we leave Mobile, Alabama in February, is going to be a name that everybody knows in the draft process, and that's running back Dylan Lobb from the University of New Hampshire, up in my neck of the woods. Why would anyone care about a guy who played at New Hampshire? Well, I'm going to tell you why right now. Last year, 2022, the kid had 1,200 rushing yards and over 450 receiving yards. He's a threat in the air. And this year, his last year in college, 700 rushing yards, 699 receiving yards. He almost went 700. I know the competition is far from the SEC, but the skill set, the versatility, his ability to get into the league immediately, be a third down back, I think is going to get him late draft capital. I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to be a third round pick, nothing like that. But I want to put this guy on people's radars because I think this is a guy that's going to get pretty unrealistic comps given what he looks like, but 5'10", 210 pounds. He's got enough size to play in the NFL, and they're putting him out wide. He's beating cornerbacks. They're keeping him running that Texas route that can be dominant for running backs out of the backfield. So Dylan Lobb out of the University of New Hampshire. No way will he be the 211 in mocks, but I need you guys checking this out to come away with the name because I think this is someone that you will know come May.
This is why you need to listen to Blue Chips. Matty Kiwoom is looking into his crystal ball, and he's talking about FCS running backs that he thinks is going to rise big time. And if you remember, guys, 2 years ago at the Senior Bowl, that's when Christian Watson started his ascent coming from the FCS. So these sort of guys like to be ahead of the game. I can't wait to see him, Matty. And you were talking to me about him this week, and I know you're super enthusiastic about him. So very cool to see you putting your money where your mouth is and pushing him into the second round here.
Yeah, you
I
called
think
that.
I think Lob's a truck. He's got a massive neck, and I think that passes the test. So I think we're going to see him down there get many opportunities, and again in a class that's been very disappointing to this point. Now I'm not going to raise you a D2 guy or a D3 guy, but I will call you an FCS guy, and I'm going to do this just because you wanted to bring up Lob. I think there's another FCS guy that should be in that same conversation. Not going to be at the Senior Bowl. He's going to be at the Shrine Bowl. That's Isaiah Davis, currently playing for the undefeated South Dakota State Jackrabbits. Shout out South Dakota State. Back-to-back 1,300-yard rushing seasons with 20-plus receptions each of those last 2 seasons. He's 6'1", 220, and this guy's got elite vision, and he's got NFL size. And I think he's going to be a guy that continues to rise through the process, just like Dylan Lobb. I think you're going to get – again, this is this type of – what this tells you right here with Lobb and Davis, even being considered in this area by us, is really the lack of – high-end talent at the running back position in this year's class. Again, you can look back. Braylon Allen, 106. Again, he's 19.9, about to be 20 years old. Blake Corum is a senior, tore his ACL last year. Travion Henderson's a guy that is really disappointed and was supposed to be the Saquon of this class. Really disappointed. Trey Benson didn't take that step forward this year. Jonathan Brooks just tore his ACL. Now we're talking about these guys. Like, that's how fast it drops off, but also that's where you can start to see different cats rise up. And there's a bunch of names we haven't even brought up yet that popped this year, popped last year, popped 2 years ago, may go back to school and things of this nature. So Isaiah Davis is going to be my guy. He's going to be my FCS cat. Again, 6'1", 220, elite vision. And again, you'll be able to watch him this weekend in the FCS semifinals. So I'm going to go Isaiah Davis to knock this one out. But there's still a handful of receivers that I love left in this class. So I'm still excited to just keep on. If you need receivers in your dynasty team, I tell you what, if there was every year, it's now.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, we got to end the show. This was awesome, by the way. Cody, we really appreciate you coming back on. It was really, really fun chopping up with you in these 2 rookie drafts. We're going to have to do it again, later on in the year. But I want to pick your brain, guys. This is the last time we're going to get together with Cody right here on Futurecast before the bowl games start. Who is your national title winner? And give us the playoff winners. Let's start out here with Matty Kiwoom. Who you got?
So I think that Alabama knocks off Michigan in Michigan's perennial one and done approach to the FBS playoffs. So Alabama moves on. I do think that Washington, although they're very fun to watch, I don't think that they can handle Texas. So I think we get a rematch, Alabama and Texas. And I think it's too tough to beat Nick Saban twice in 1 year. So I'm going to go roll Bama, roll Tide, baby. I don't give a piss, but anything but Bama, baby. Blitz, Bama, blitz.
Guys, let me tell you something. We're going to let Cody close it out here, but it's roll Tide. It's roll Tide season. And I have, my son is named Henry. Guess what I bought Henry? I bought him a fresh Derrick Henry Alabama throwback jersey so he can rock it. And I'm really excited about it. I think this is like, guys, I'm not telling you to go out and gamble here, but I want to check out Nick Saban's bowl record, and you want to check out Harbaugh's bowl record. When you give Harbaugh a lot of time to prepare for an opponent, it doesn't usually go well. It doesn't go well. I think this might be woodshed time. I think the Alabama Crimson Tide by 2 touchdowns. I think Texas by 10 points. I'm going to say Texas wins by 10 or 11 over Washington. I think Washington will give like a good go. I think they're going to be very prepared. Just too many dudes on Texas. And I think that the national championship rematch, I'm completely with you. This time, Alabama wins. Alabama wins a very close game by 3 points over Texas. Alabama is your national champions.
I hate that we're all 3 in line on this because I have Alabama 31-27. Wrote it down before the show. And it's again, I do a show every single Friday with Alex on Orange Bloods TV on YouTube. And it's Texas related, right? And we talk Texas every single week. I feel good about this Washington matchup. I think what Texas brings is a vaunted interior defensive line. Everybody knows that, but they also bring a strong offensive line. The only mismatch that happens on this football field this weekend, or I should say in a couple weekends, is those Washington receivers against those Texas DBs that are banged up right now and kind of young. So I do think they take advantage of them. I think that's going to be a high-scoring game, but I do think Texas edges them out. And again, you brought up all the Bama, Michigan stuff, but I do think the rematch culminates with Jalen Milroe hoisting the trophy and then them coming back next year, again, with Bill Belichick as an advisor to Nick Saban. Jalen Milroe wins the Heisman next year, and Alabama repeats, and they back-to-back championships for Alabama and the Crimson Tide.
Roll damn tide, baby. Roll damn tide.
Damn tide. Love it. Love it. And that's today's show. Futurecast Cody, floor is yours. Let everybody know where they can find you if they're not already rocking with you.
I appreciate you guys having me on as always. And we're about to run this thing back a few times between here and there. So I look forward to seeing you guys at the Senior Bowl. You can find all my stuff at patreon.com/executives. All my rankings, all my writing, all my shows, all my everything will be over there on Patreon, as well as a multitude of scores and just a bunch of stuff that me and Matty Kiwoom do. So also find it over at rosterwatch.com will be my mock drafts, my rookie write-ups, and all of my other free rankings and stuff along those lines over at rosterwatch.com, but also just checking every single Tuesday and Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time, forever going forward is on the Executives of Fantasy Football, The Hurdle on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights. So I appreciate both of you guys, and it's always good chopping it up. The time just absolutely flies by with you guys, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's always awesome. And definitely check out Dynasty Life and my Dynasty podcast. Find me on First Class Fantasy with Billy Muzio. Find me on press coverage. I'm everywhere. I'm all over the place. And again, Blue Chips, Matty Kiwoom. Look for all the announcements. We're gonna get that out there. Matty Kiwoom's gonna blow up this year. Blue Chips is gonna be fire. I cannot wait to hear Matty's thoughts. I'll listen to Matty reading the phone book. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited to hear Matty with Blue Chips. Super excited about that show, Matty.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, anything else? Player Profiler, do game plan, trade gods. Obviously, the Futurecast keep rocking with us. Cody mentioned the Patreon, the Executives of Fantasy Football, but I'll reiterate it. Go over to patreon.com/executives. Go to the Executives of Fantasy Football YouTube channel. Check it out. We got 2 shows every single week, and then a bonus show on the weekends where we watch along with you boys. But that was the Futurecast. For Theo Gremminger, I'm Matty Kiwoom. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Cody Carpentier. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.